Hi everyone, today we are going to use conditional formatting to help build our form. So to start, we can see here that we have some data or some fields that the users are going to put, for example the name, and at the moment there is nothing happen here when we start filling these boxes right here. So let's start building our form. So to start, let's put here list 1. So this is going to represent everything that is happening here. So what I want to do now is to say if type, so this formula right here is going to see if these boxes here represent text, numbers or error values, but today I want to use the 1 and the 2, so the text is represented by 2 and the number is represented by 1. So if I say that this cell right here needs to be equal to 2, so equal to text. And now if it's equal to text I want to say true, and if it's not equal to text I want to say false. Close parentheses, and that's our formula. And this is what we want to do for every single cell that we are going to have text or numbers here. So let's put here at least 4, and we can use this by press Ctrl D, and we have 4 here. So we just need to adjust the cells. So the first one is correct. Let's go to the second one. Next one we need to put as gender, and the next one needs to go to the box that we're going to say the age. And if you notice here, we don't want, this is not going to be text but a number. So the formula that we had here, if you see, a number is represented by 1. So if this cell right here is equal to 1, it's going to be represented by true, so is a number. So that's correct. And the next step now is to test this. So let's see. John, it is true because it's text. And let's say here Keen, and here we can use very quickly a data validation list. We can say that male and then comma female, and then we're going to have 2 options to our users to choose from. So now I'm going to say male, also represented by a text, so 2. Build here nested if this is equal to empty, represented by 2 quotes, then what we want to say is false. Comma again, and this is the if we had before, and this is going to be integrated with the if. So now let's close our formula, and now we have false. So if we put here a number like 40, now we have this all true. So now for the tricky part, what we want to do is to say color bar. We are going to build our color bar. Let's call it color bar 1, and we want that to say every single cell of this in this range is equal to true. We want this cell to be represented by 1, and if one of them is not true, it's going to be 0. So let's do this formula. If, and we can use AND to evaluate every single cell, and if one of them fails we can put 0 on it. So if this cell, this cell, this cell and this cell is equal to true, in this case it is, you want it to be 1, and I'm going to explain this later on. If not, if we have here a false, you want it to be 0. So let's close this formula, and we have here our 1, and if we delete one of them, is going to be 0. So what we want to do with this is we want to go to conditional formatting, manage rules, new rule, and we want to choose format only cells that contain, and now we want to change this one to equal. So if it's equal to 0, we want it to be red. Say first the font red, and then the fill also red. Press OK, and if is 1, we need to create another rule saying I wanted this cell to be green. So let's do it again. Format only cells that contain. Change this to equal to 1. Let's go to format. I want this to be green and the font, so the text, to be also green. Press OK. OK again. Let's apply these rules to this cell in specific. So we only selected this cell right here. Apply. And now is red because we have at least one false in this range. So let's put here again the name, and this should turn green. And copy this cell, and now we want to go to paste, and let's link this cell to a picture. So in this way, if we change something in here, this cell and this picture is going to be the same color. So let's delete John. This is going to be red and this one is going to be red. So let's adjust here to be maybe a square. Let's see. And now let's copy it again to make this a little bit more professional. And let's change the size. Let's put right here. Let's align this for a second. And now let's change the width. And now let's go to the next one. It's going to be the same thing for the next stage of our project, our form. So let's do it again. We can actually copy this, put it right here, call it list2, and just let's change the range of our formulas. So in this one is actually already in the right place. Let's do Control D, and now we need to change B14 to B15. And now we know that if we try to do this, so let's put here YouTube, analyst, and now we have two trues. So now let's do the same thing for our color bar number 2. And if we see here the conditional formatting, we copied, but the cells actually already are in place. So we are in age 11, so this is correct. So let's change this. It'll give us a false and everything is okay. So the next steps is the same as before. Let's copy this. Let's paste as a linked picture. It's going to be here. Let's put it right there. Let's copy paste. Sorry for the format. And we have our form. Now we can complement this by saying this is actually not correct. You need to fill first this one and then this one. So let's delete this and do a little bit more with conditional formatting. So we want to say that if you didn't fill this one is probably not available for you to fill. So in order to do this, let's delete all of that for your better understanding. And now let's select these cells right here. Let's go to conditional formatting and then manage rules, a new rule. And now this is what we want to do. Equal if, and let's say h4 is equal to 0. So if it's true, this is what we want to do. We want to go to format, the font to be, let's say, gray, and this should be enough to see that actually this is not ready to be filled if you didn't fill the first part of the form. So let's press OK. Let's apply this. And now you can see that this part is not ready to be filled. You need to fill this part first. So let's try. So we have one true already. Let's go for a second one. Let's choose our gender, 4 years old. And now this part right here becomes available. I know it's only visual, but it's actually good for people to understand that you need to complete this part first in order this part to be ready to be filled. So if we now finish our form, we are going to see that our form now is complete. Of course, adjust this to your best format and change this around if you need to. And for the second part of our video, I want to show you another way of using conditional formatting to get the same result we have here, but maybe in a simpler way. So let's start by deleting this. We are not going to need it. Let's delete this one and let's change our formula. So we know that this is going to be represented by 1 if all of these cells are equal to true, and 0 if one of these cells are equal to false. So now we want to add 2 more. So we want to add at least 2. Let's add 1 more. And now if all of these are equal to true is 1. If one of these in this range right here is equal to false, is going to return 0. So let's test this. Correct. Let's go back. And now what we want to do is to insert here 2 columns actually. Let's resize these 2. And now let's insert here an emoji. You can do this by pressing Windows dot. Let's choose this one right here. And if you can see it, you can start typing. Click once again here to close the window, and let's continue with our conditional formatting. So now what we want to do, we want to say that if all of this is equal to true, we want this to be green and your form is going to be validated or filled in correctly. So you need to highlight all of these rows, go to conditional formatting, manage rules, new rule, use a formula to determine which cells to format, and let's press or let's type our formula. So if this cell right here is represented by 1, or if the result is 1, you want it to be true, if not, false. And let's go to our formats. You want it to be green, so this field to be green right here, and you can say also you want it to be white. So let's press OK, OK again, and let's apply this. And now let's resize this a little bit more. Let's put this a little bit smaller. Now we have here a validated form. So let's see here what happens. And we can actually say here this can be white as well. And let's change it again. And we have now a validated form.